All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Musar podcast. My name is Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe, and we're coming to you live from Houston, Texas, and thank you for joining us. We're going to begin with the first of the midot, the traits that we're hopefully going to work on attaining and acquiring in our Musar study. This trait we're going to start with is zrizut, which means either zeal, alacrity. But I want to ask a question. When you think of the word zeal, alacrity, basically what we're trying to get to is the lack of, there's some people who just like to postpone things and procrastinate. So the lack of procrastination, the lack of postponement, just getting things done, right? When you think of that, of zrizut, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? We're going to stop the recording here. We're going to just pause it, right? It's fine, okay. And we'll just go around the room if everyone can just share what you think it means. You're saying doing things quickly, right?
On top of things, just somebody calls you and says, could you come over now, or could you come over now, I really need your help, and instead of just saying,
Okay, that's great. So it means without delay. Okay. Lack of enthusiasm. Right, because there are things that when we're excited about, we take care of them right away. All right, so how do we ensure that we have that enthusiasm for everything? All right, we'll see. Yeah.
Making an effort and being ambitious and having energy.
Okay.
about being present in the moment and being engaged in what you're doing.
Correct. Excellent.
I always think about certain kids. They have this sense of perfection, and they just don't want to begin something. They hold back because they can't do what their expectations.
Okay, right. So they feel limited because they're afraid they're not going to be able to live up to a certain. Okay. Any other ideas? Right. So I want to share with you what the Ramchal, the great Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lotzato, one of the great Musar masters, what he writes about zrizut. He writes the following. It's an incredible fact about humanity. All right, I'm going to take my keys here. I'm going to lift it up from the table. And what's going to happen when I leave go? It drops. It's heavy. It's heavier than air. So it drops, it falls down, right? The Ramchal tells us, we are heavy. By nature, we're heavy. And therefore, we don't like to get things done. Right? If I have a choice between sitting back and watching the game or going out and visiting someone who's sick, which do you think I want to do? Right? Now, so how do I get myself to a point where I can pull myself out of bed to go, right? So we have motivations. We see that we have motivations for things, and they excite us to get moving. And there are other things we don't have motivation for, and we procrastinate, and we just push it off. So how do we take that energy, that excitement that we have for things that we do like and do enjoy, do appreciate, and transfer them or attach them to the things that we are motivated to? So let me tell you an amazing story. My grandfather, of blessed memory, he had a big dilemma. You see, in learning in yeshiva, there are two different areas of study. There's an area of study which is like Talmud study, which develops your mind, which develops your connection to the godly way of thinking. And then it's mostly through the study of Talmud, halacha. But then there's character, which is Musar. And you can imagine my grandfather was much more attracted or much more motivated by the study of Musar than he was by the study of Talmud. And he had this dilemma. What does he do? He has 2 hours to a free time. Which notes should he write? The notes on the Talmud or the notes on the Musar. Right? One he really, really, really wants to, a 10 out of 10, and the other's like, well, 4 or 5 out of 10. You know, he's like, he really wants to, but not as much as he does the other. So the way he was able to motivate himself to do both, he says, the one I want to do, I'll figure out how to get it done. I'm going to do the one I don't want to do as much first, and then I'll get that done. Right? You have to wash dishes, and then you have something exciting you want to do, so you just do the exciting thing, and the dishes stay there, till another few hours. And you know what? I'm going to do what I don't like to do first, and then the exciting thing will be exciting to do. And what happens is you'll usually find that it's a trick of the mind. It really is a trick of the mind, because it's really not that difficult. It doesn't take that much time. It's not such a difficult task. But in our mind, relative, again, that heaviness that we have of, I just don't want to do it. I'm just not motivated. Once we understand that we have that, and that is a natural part of our existence, it'll be much easier for us to tackle this. Yes?
Rabbi Wolbe, there's a kind of person who treats himself like a slave, who will always turn to the thing he does not want to do and whip himself into doing it first.
Mm-hmm.
How would a person like that approach this idea?
So what happens to that person with the things they do want to do?
If they get to them, they get to them, if there's time.
I think it's a highly productive person, perhaps.
So that's a positive.
Yeah, I think so. Why not? If we push ourselves to do that book report we don't want to do, and we get it done more than eat the ice cream, it's pretty good. I got to tell you, right? No, I think that's ideal. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Intellectually, I know I would like to go to Saturday morning services, and I can't make myself go. I go to the gym. It just seems just so heavy and long, and I can't seem to break myself out of that habit.
So you may not be wrong. We all have things that fall down in our priority list. Right? We have those things. It's just like, it's such a drag for whatever reason, right? Everyone has maybe different parts of their day, different parts of their week, different parts of their month, their year. This is like, I dread this. We have to find a way to either make it more meaningful to ourselves, okay? And I can give you many, many examples, particularly when it comes to prayer services, right? Maybe try a different flavor. Maybe try a different, because many times when we get into a certain habit, a certain routine, it gets very difficult for us to like it. It really feels like a drag. When we go someplace else, even if it's to a synagogue down the road, you go to, right? You go to, if there are different groups that get together, they have these prayer, right? It may be uplifting for you. Maybe, this is a different energy. Now, I may be going to my synagogue because my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather went here. So we feel a little bit of a sense of, we have to a loyalty and affinity to the, but again, if that causes us to do something that is of less importance before it, then it must be that it's maybe a little bit time to change a little bit in that area. Think of it like this: if you have I'm trying to think of an example where I had any type of personal experience where there's something I don't like, and how do I get myself to motivate it to start liking it? Or okay, so let me give you a foundational teaching that I learned from my grandfather. It says that there's an obligation to study Torah. There's an obligation to study Torah, right? Okay. Now, we have to be very careful when we study Torah because Torah is not like other subjects. So if we study, for example, we study science, great. So science it's dry material, right? It is what it is. Math, it's pretty dry, okay? It is what it is. Language. Now, again, you can be creative in every one of these areas, but it is what it really is. And the more it's unbelievable depth in each one of these areas. But when it comes to Torah, it says, Kihem chayenu v'orech yimenu. This is life. This is life. So our sages tell us that Torah study, you learn because you're obligated. But you know something? I really want to learn because I'm excited. So here's the danger. The danger is that if we only do it because we're excited, then what happens when we're not excited? We don't do it, right? So Torah is one of those things that we study because there's an obligation, but the sweetness comes. It's one of the things that we pray for. We say in the morning, we say, Hashem, make the words of your Torah sweet, right? We're going to learn it. We're going to learn it because we're obligated to learn it. But I want to have joy from it. I want to have excitement. I want to have a sweetness from it. Right? And that sweetness comes. But it starts with obligation. I'll give you another example. Children, right? Your child is crying because they want to be fed. Right? But I'm not in the mood. So you're not in the mood. But you're obligated. You have to take care of your child. Right? But so you understand that that even if we're not in the mood, there are things that we do even if we're not in the mood. Right? I'm not in the mood of eating, right? You may not be in the mood, but you have to, right? There's certain things that you, right? So now a person has to come to to a point where they start evaluating what are the things that I must do because these are my obligations, and what are the things that I want to do because I like them, because they make me feel good, because they make me happy, because, right now, if we're able to find the bridge between the two, then that's great. So let's say if you come up with a deal, you say, you know what? How about if I do 1 hour of the services and then go do my workout as my prize? Right? So now there's a motivation involved with that experience, which is perhaps not very pleasurable at first, right? But the idea is that you work on, meaning we'll always have things that we love to do and things that we hate to do. We always will, right? Yes.
I find sometimes motivating just knowing that it will no longer be heavy on my mind. It may not be something that I'm eagerly looking forward to doing, but I'm happy to not have it constantly,
On your head.
a task that, oh my God, I'm just dreading doing, and then you do it, it's like I spent more time dreading it than actually doing it, and that alone is motivation, even if it's not something that is pleasurable or sweet or anything like that, but just getting it off my mind.
That's correct.
Is
And that's really what what we would like to accomplish every day is exactly that, is figure out a way to not let things linger. Because the longer things linger, it gets more frustrating and it gets more difficult and it gets heavier. Right? There are I'm sure anybody who's ever run an event and you have to invite people, and there's certain things like I just dread making those phone calls. I dread, it's you know what? I always tell people, take the 3 easiest ones and just start with them. Right? You have 50 people to call to wish a Shana Tova, right? And you're like dreading making all those phone calls, and you have to hear that same story again from that uncle, and you're gonna have to see that same story from that cousin, and it's like, and you just dread it. You know what? Call the 3 that are the easiest ones. They're easy, it's pleasant, it's enjoyable for you, and many times that'll get the engine rolling. It'll get it started, and one thing will lead to the other. But let's go back to the original principle. What's the original principle? By nature, we are lazy. So all we need to do is trick ourselves to get that engine started. Once we get that engine started, it's easy to throw things into the mix, even the things that aren't as enjoyable, that aren't as pleasant. So zeal is really the introduction to all of our work on our character. Because essentially, we're going to need to not be lazy to work on our traits, right? If we have that list of traits, so we have a list over here of, I think it's 28 traits that we arbitrarily picked out of a hat. If we're going to work on these 28 traits, you know what? It's going to take a lot of work to work on my arrogance and to work on my anger and to work on my generosity and my happiness and order and being loving and patient and truthful. It's going to take a lot of work. And you know what? It's not always going to be exciting. I'm not always going to be motivated and say, you know what? I'm so excited to go and change my life. No, I like it the way it was. Or I don't like it the way it was, but it's better than me having uncertainty, which is the biggest fear people have. You know, uncertainty, we're not sure. You know what? It's an amazing thing. We have 2 families staying by us for the holiday of Sukkot. And one is my brother and his wife and his amazing, beautiful children. And his friends that came a few years ago, and they came again, a couple and their baby. And their baby is just learning how to walk. And it is so amazing because you see exactly what this trait is. You see the child trying to walk and falling down. They're heavy, right? Not that they're heavy, overweight type of heavy, but that they're physical. And physical things drop. They fall. So the child is trying to walk to get its own movement, and it falls, and it gets up again and tries again, and falls, gets up again, and tries again. And that's really the routine that we're going to try to emulate, that of children, because they're such an inspiration. They don't stop. It's an amazing thing that I'm right now dealing with, trying to figure out for my children, perhaps they should learn different musical instruments. I play music. My brothers play musical instruments. So I'm thinking to get them lessons and things like that for different instruments, finding what each one. And I was thinking, it's much more common for children to learn musical instruments than adults. You know why? Because children are okay with failing and trying again. Adults I tried it 3 times, it didn't work, I'm out. But children get up and try again. And it's okay. It's okay to fall down, and we pick ourselves up and try to walk again. And we can try to play that rhythm or that key or those notes, and I fail, and I'll try again. And we have to learn that from children, that they just pick themselves up and try again. Yes?
Well, just before you said that, I was thinking about piano playing, for example, which I started as an adult. But I won't play in front of people. But I was thinking about children lack a certain subconsciousness, and that way, always your conscience was a very powerful, positive motivator. Sometimes it's good not to have too much, because then you don't self-evaluate, over-self-evaluate. And I was just thinking that's why kids recover so much. There's a good positive side to that.
It's a funny thing. My son, we went on the intermediary days of Sukkot. Today's the last of the intermediary days of Sukkot. Tonight we continue with the holidays of Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah tomorrow night. And so in the intermediary days, you can drive and you can cook and do everything that you normally do. But we dress in our more holiday attire and the like. But it's very common in the community that families go out together to an amusement park, to to a some place. You do some activity together. It's a time really the family gets together, and so we went. We had a great time. One day we went to one place, and one day we went to another place. One of the days we went to Herman Park. It's really beautiful by the water and all of that. It's really, really, really wonderful. And we had over there's a nice area of grass, and we had a football game. We were there. My cousins, my children, my nephews were there from one and other nephews and nieces, and it was really great. Some of the kids went on the train. It was really incredible. So we're playing a game of football. And my son catches the football like a OBJ. Anybody familiar with OBJ? Right? It was a really great catch, in the air, right? Over his head, really difficult catch, and then he falls down. And it was like the worst body slam you've ever. It's like, boom, right in his hip, and it's like it really knocked the wind out of him. It was like, I was able to help him, give him the first aid he needed, and it's like a few minutes later he's up on his feet running around again. I'm like, this is crazy. If that happened to me, right? For 2 months I'd be limping. I'd be, this on the side. I don't know. I can't. And we love to find excuses why we can't do things. We can't do things. I can give you all the reasons in the world why we can't do something. Someone calls you up and says, I just had a delay of my flight. I had this a couple of times. People call me, I'm stuck in St. Louis. My connecting flight was delayed, and I was going to have a ride from the airport, but now I'm going to be arriving 2 hours later. Would you be able to come pick me up at 1:30 in the morning? And my answer is, of course. Yes, no problem. So what's amazing is that I find that 9 out of 10 times it's a test from Hashem, not whether or not you're going to do it, but whether or not you're willing to do it. Because then I get the phone call 45 minutes later, so I'm actually boarding the flight, and I see there's another guy from the neighborhood here, so I'm going to get a ride from him. Right? I don't have to do it, right? But according to the Torah, you get reward for it as if it's done, because you had the willingness to do it. Now, even though you're happy and relieved that you don't actually have to, but the willingness to want to do it is as if you've done it. Right? Correct. So it's a very important and fundamental shift that a person. There are people who, whenever you ask them anything, they're like, "Nah, I don't think so." They didn't even think about it. They have no idea what you're talking about. No, right? It's that heaviness versus trying to train ourselves. You know what? If anyone asks me for any favor today, I'm going to say yes, even if I don't know what it is. Even if I don't have the time, I'll figure it out. I'll try to rework my schedule to become a person who's willing to do it, to go ahead and push myself forward, even when I'm uncomfortable. Here's the thing. Yes, okay. We have to be willing to get out of our comfort zone. Well, so we mentioned earlier that you don't want to put yourself in a place of uncertainty, right? I don't know, because I've never been there. I've never tried it. So we get worried. Anybody go to an event where you know nobody else? Most people don't like doing that. Right? It's not up on their list. If they have a choice of going to the event where they know everyone or most of the people, or they have several friends going, versus a place they know nobody, right? They'll go to the place where they know people because they're comfortable there, right? But the truth is, where will you benefit more? Especially you go to a networking brunch, right? You want to go to a place where you know nobody, so you have to make friends. You have no choice. You're pushed to a certain direction. We're not always willing to take that risk. But that's part of what we're going to learn, is how to get out of our comfort zone, of our heaviness, of our routine, of only doing the things that I'm familiar with versus getting the things that are important and that need to get done. I totally understand what you're saying, and let me rephrase it for you. Okay, how many of us have taken or accepted upon ourselves? You know what? I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to New York. The New Year's resolution is a gold mine for gyms, right? Because people make that resolution and they feel that if they cancel their membership, then they're reneging on that resolution, so they keep their membership forever, right? And they're making a mint off us, right? So, I totally understand this. Like, it's not the issue of working out; it's leaving my house to go work out. So I figured out a trick. It works for me, right? I have to trick myself to go work out, right? If it's to jog or if it's to go do whatever the errand is, right? The trick I do is I say, you know what? I'm not going jogging. I'm just putting on my jogging shoes. That's it. Now I'm negotiating with myself. Right? I'm not going to go jogging. Jogging? Who has time for jogging? Come on. I'm just going to put on my jogging shoes. And what happens is they're on already. I might as well go. Right? So I would say it's not even going to the event. I'm just going to leave my house, get in the car. Right? We'll see what happens. I'll listen to the radio. And it's like, I'm in the car already. Might as well go. All right? The idea is, I don't know if that will work for you, but think of something. You know what? I'll pick up ice cream on the way. Right? Something that will motivate us. What will I do? And the truth is, think about it. When there are things that we're motivated about, we do them right away without any issues. It's the things that we're not motivated, we're heavy about. Okay? So, zeal is the introduction to all midot. Any trait that a person wants to work on, they will need to have, because it's not fun, right? To work on generosity. It's not fun to work on faith. It's not fun. We're in a culture where everything is like, I was at Starbucks, and it takes people about 7 minutes to just verbalize what it is they want. They want the pumpkin spice with 2 dashes of cinnamon, a little twist of chocolate, and it's like with this, at this temperature, and it's like double cupped, and it's like, guys, we're in a manicured culture where everything needs to be my way. So when there's something I don't want to do, I'm not going to do it, even if it's good for me. The problem is not that we don't get things done. The problem is that we become lazy. And I don't think there's ever been a generation that's been as lazy as ours, right? We don't want to get up to turn on the lights. We just want to talk to our phone and tell the phone to turn it on or off for us, right? I personally love that. I told you last week, I love technology, right? But we have to be very careful. It shouldn't take over our lives. We have to be careful that we don't become lazy because of it. All right. It adds quality to our actions. When we work on I have found personally that when I'm working on this trait of zrizut, of alacrity, of zeal, of getting things done, my life is filled with more passion, with more excitement, with more energy. There's a whole new, it's robust, right? Why? Because I'm winning. I'm winning. My Yetzer Hara doesn't want me. He wants me to just hit the snooze button and go back to sleep. He's very happy when we do that. Instead, we get up. I'll tell you, last night I had a class. Again, it's one of those I can't say no type things. So I get a phone call on Friday from Rabbi Yacobian from Congregation Torah V'Chesed. He says to me, we have our annual Hoshana Rabbah, where they learn to study all night and then they pray early morning. So I got home last night at 3 a.m., right? And that's when I finished my class. And now I have to be up at 8 o'clock because we have morning services. Hoshana Rabbah, it's an important day. It's like almost like a Yom Kippur type of, event. And it's like, wow, I'm really tired. And now I have another class. And I knew this was going to be I knew that this was going to happen, which is why they asked me if I'm going to have this class today on Hoshana Rabbah. And I said, yes, of course we're going to have the class. Because I need that push. I need to push myself, because otherwise, you know where I'd be right now? I'd be sleeping. So I need to force myself to create obligations so that I'm not doing that. I don't want to be there. Right? I don't want to be in bed. I want to be productive. So I force myself, I obligate myself to do the things that sometimes I may not want to be doing, to push myself beyond my limits. Someone showed me a great, great quote. When you feel like you're done and you're wiped out, you're only at 30%. It's so awesome. It's such a great line. It's like, oh, I'm so tired. I can't jog anymore. You're only at 30%. Push yourself down. Now you got another 70% to go. We're like, oh, I'm so tired. I can't. There's no way I can do this. And we're very easy. Again, we're living in a world, oh, don't be too difficult on yourself. No, no, push yourself. You can do it. God believes in you. He gives you everything you have. He thinks you can do it. He gave you opportunities. Go get him. But we need to find a way to motivate ourselves. So it adds quality to our actions. That this was an action that perhaps I wouldn't have ordinarily done, but now I'm doing it because I'm working on myself to change, to push myself into an area that I'm not comfortable. We need to learn to be most comfortable when we're not comfortable. We have to push ourselves to be in that state where our greatest area of comfort is when we're uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, initially I had a little problem with this. I'll tell you why. Because I was talking to my daughter about you wanted your kids to get used to going to shul. You got to take them. They're babies. You got to push yourself and use discipline, not use any other, any kind of flavor, to make it worthwhile. You just have to feel the accomplishment of the goal so that later on it's easier. So I think I was brought up more with discipline and fear of how things are just harder later if you don't. So my incentives were more negative. Nowadays everyone just wants to make it pleasant and emotionally satisfying, all that. But that's not how we started. And zeal just came later.
So let me tell you, it's an interesting thing. We were having a family discussion with my father-in-law and all of my brothers and sister-in-laws. Just the married couples. We're 7 married siblings, and so it was very nice. It was like we're all sitting around the Yom Tov table, and we're just having this lovely conversation about. We started talking about education. What is the most important element of education? It was a great discussion. So my father-in-law said something very, very beautiful. He said, this is Rabbi Eli Gortz, my father-in-law, he said, whatever behavior you talk about is the behavior they will continue to do. If it's the positive behaviors, they'll continue to do the positive. If it's the negative, or if you keep on pointing out the negative, they'll continue doing the negative. Whatever it is that gets them that attention is what they will continue to do. Which is why it's an amazing thing. We look at Aaron, the great priest, the high priest. It says he was Ohev Shalom v'Rodef Shalom. He loved peace and pursued peace. Right? Our sages tell us he always saw the positive in a person. He saw that, he's a human being. He's a kind person. He would bring out that virtue that the person had. The person would be like, wow, Aaron, the high priest. And by the way, to our children, that's what we are. We're that high priest. Like, my parents see that I'm kind-hearted. Maybe I am. And the more we tell them about their qualities, the more they will show us more of those qualities. The more we talk about their negatives, their flaws, the more they will demonstrate those negatives. It's an amazing thing. If we talk about the positives, they'll be positive. If we talk about the negatives, they'll be negative. Very important thing. I think it's true. I don't only think it's nice, I think it's true. So the struggle with zeal is the battle against our nature. Our nature is to be heavy. Our nature is not to want to do things. It's not about time management. You have to know this. It's not about time management or to do things quickly. It's not about zeal. Sometimes people think, I'm going to get this done really quickly. It's not about getting things done quickly, but rather it's setting our priorities and becoming doers. What are my priorities? If you had to write down on a piece of paper, what are your values? I'm not talking about politic values, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what are your values as a human being? Right? So love. So what am I doing to promote love? Is it love of my spouse, of my children, of my community? So what am I doing to show that love? Wish? Wish is not enough. Wish is I'm here, you're there, and I wish for you to have good things. But maybe, so here's the thing. Maybe it's when I see a police officer at Starbucks, I'll buy him his coffee. Maybe it means putting it into action, not only saying it and hoping it and wishing it, but actually doing something. You know what? The first part of it is defining what it is for us. That's the first process. First step in the process is defining what my values are. Once I understand my values, I got to go get them. How am I going to do it? Put it into action. Okay? So it's not about time management. The goal here is not to become. We're going to work on not time management but order. We're going to work on order. You know, we have a Pesach Seder. We're going to work on Seder. Seder is the word for order, and it's going to be one of the future traits that we're going to talk about that will help us prioritize, organize our motivations, our ideas, our values. But right now we're talking about getting things done, becoming a doer. Our nature is earthliness. We're heavy. We need to learn to become lightweight, right? Not in a lightweight sense of like being weak, but the idea is to be easy. Easy, we can just go do it, no problem. You know, they say that if you want to get something done, if you need someone to get something done, ask someone who's busy. Right? There are people just get things done. Right? Because they don't think about, it's like the hemming and hawing about, I don't know, can I, can't I? Do it. You could have gotten it done already. Right? I try, by the way, my children, for example, last night, right, they wanted to watch the game right after the Chag, right after Shabbos went out. So we make Havdalah, and now my kids want to watch the game. I said, no problem. That playroom, you remember that playroom? Right? When that's clean, you can watch the game. Right? No, but we really want it. I said, no, I'm turning it on right now, but I'm not going to cast it to that screen till it's clean. Right? Okay, so now there's a motivation. That same task would not get done if I just said, listen to me, you're going to the playroom and cleaning up. Right? That's fighting a war I'll never win. But when you connect it with a motivation, now it gets done. Right? Now, it's not the idea here is not only getting things done, it's getting into a system that we not only it's not a one-off shot, but it becomes a way of life that we become doers. We change the essence of who we are. Doing a mitzvah with zrizut, with alacrity, with this zeal, is an action that it says that the presence of God resides upon it, right? And any delay in doing the mitzvah opens up to a potential for the Yetzer Hara distracting us. So let me give you an example. You think of any mitzvah, pick a mitzvah. Lighting candles. So we have the opportunity every single Friday night, 18 minutes before sunset, and you can set a reminder on your Siri or your Google, and you can tell them set an alarm for 28 minutes before sunset on Friday, and then you have 10 minutes to just prepare your candles. What I tell people to do, and this is what I do every week, immediately after Havdalah, Saturday night, I prepare my wife's candles for the next week already. It's ready. You come to my house on Sunday, you'll see that the lights are set. On Monday, you'll see that they're set. Because there were too many times that 2 minutes before candle lighting, I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't prepare. It's like, and it's a mad rush. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to get into that situation. So now I put it part of a new routine to not fall into that situation where I have an order. I have a motivation. I like to get my week started with that. The first part of the week is getting ready for next Shabbos. Getting ready for those candles. But that's one thing. So here's the thing. We discussed this actually when we talked about order in one of the other classes. Excuse me. We talked about, so if someone wants to light candles, when someone wants to start lighting Shabbos candles for the first time, the first step? Buying candles. Because I can have all the desire in the world to run a marathon, but if I don't buy the sneakers, I'm not going to be able to. Okay, so you have to take the first step. So just get it done. So how do we get it done? So we have to recognize that we also have we have something called the Yetzer Hara. We have this evil inclination, this desire for us to just take it easy, just relax, just don't do it. And that is our Yetzer Hara pushing us to just be lazy. Just hit the snooze button, turn over, and forget about the world. Forget about responsibility. Forget about doing. And we know that it usually doesn't bring about fruitful results. It doesn't bring us happiness. It doesn't bring us satisfaction. It doesn't bring us fulfillment. So the delay itself is the work of the Yetzer Hara, and the Shekhinah leaves the action. Our sages tell us that the Shekhinah, the presence of the Almighty, when we're in the process of doing a mitzvah, it's there. When we delay, the Yetzer Hara is battling with us. No, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And then the Shekhinah says, you know what, I'm out. Leave me alone. I'm gone. So we really have this opportunity to add more blessing to our lives by getting things done. Getting things done, the more we just get it done, the more blessing we continue to have in our lives. Yeah.
So earlier when you were talking about the baby's hungry, am I going to feed it, right? So yes, I'm going to feed the baby. I'm going to feed the baby because it's the right thing to do, but I'm also going to feed the baby because the baby's going to be happy, right? So I'm thinking more long term of consequences, and so it's kind of the same thing with me. This morning I was pressing the snooze button, and I said to myself,
Welcome to the club.
you're going to feel so much better
So
if you go and participate.
So you want to know? You want to know what I did for that? I had the snooze button syndrome, and I just moved my alarm clock so far away from my bed that it's on the other side of my room. Right? I have. I'll tell you. There's another thing also. Just by the way, I there's a lot of noise here. So I had. That's fine. It's fine. The door's not going to close. It's fine. I talking about hitting the snooze button and pushing things off and delaying and okay, now I lost my chain of thought. Okay, cut. This guy's awesome.
I saw you sent the reminder for this class at 3:20 in the morning.
That's right. That's right when I got back.
3:20 in the morning.
Yeah,
I
that's.
think that must have been your way of,
I got to get it done.
you're going to do it.
I gotta get it done. That's correct. Did everyone get the email? Okay, you all got it? Okay, just making sure. If you didn't get it, then I'll have to make sure that your email is added. So that's why we have that sign-in sheet. Make sure everyone is on that list. So I heard, I remember now what I was going to say. I heard that there's a danger. I don't want to scare you, but there's a certain danger of having our cell phones next to our beds. Right? There's a lot of radiation that comes out of these things. So I committed not to have any phones in my room. And my phone is in the other room. Right? It's in the other room, and my alarm that's set over here rings in the other room. Right? So if I want to turn this annoying thing off, I have to get up go to the other room and turn it off. So that's again, but I say that the best, this is for me. For me, the best thing is if I put it into action immediately. Because the minute I procrastinate and delay, it's gone. Now, that doesn't mean, now we live in a world today where if someone sends you a text message and you don't respond within 15 seconds, right, they get insulted. I don't understand. Why don't you respond to my, right? I don't respond to messages immediately. And people who know me know that. I don't mind if they get frustrated. It's fine. I like to think before I answer. And even if it's a simple question, I still like to think about it. I like to, I'm not a vending machine. You put in 2 quarters, pop out a soda, right? That's not the way I like to think things. It's funny that my grandfather was that in an extreme. I would ask my grandfather a question, and I'm like expecting an immediate answer. And he's like, no, we'll come back to me next week. Right? And a week later, he would have an answer that is fully baked, ready to go, taking into consideration all of the information and whatever. It's sometimes you have big questions, they require a lot of thinking, and even sometimes small questions require some thinking, some taking into consideration different. Yes.
I was just thinking of my grandkids, and it's such a teaching moment. It's so precious to the person trying to give a response. And also, I find that kids change the question over time. They start thinking about it too.
So, zrizut, alacrity, zeal, is the emotion behind the action. It's the emotion behind the action. We all are doing actions, but what's the emotion behind it? Is the emotion, go get him, go do it? Or is the emotion, it's a drag, it's a drain, I really don't want to be doing this? And the truth is, it can change everything. You can just ask my mother, right? My mother, when we were kids, my mother asked us to do a chore, and we were like, okay, right? That's very different than, sure, mommy, right? I'll be happy to, bring up the laundry basket or do whatever is asked, and bring in the groceries. There's a very big difference in how that same, what did I do it or did I not do it? I did the task you asked, right? But it's with a saltiness, right? Or with a joy. So that's what we're trying to get to in this trait of alacrity. We're going to talk more about it, not next week, because next week we don't have class. There is a special scholar in residence here next week, so we're going to be continuing the week after. But we're going to continue on this topic of zrizut. If you'd like, I can send out the worksheet. I can send out just so everyone can have it on file. You can print out 20 of them, so you'll have it for the 20 coming weeks. And that way you can journal yourself. But again, what you need, you'll need to answer as soon as you get it. I'll try to send it as soon as I get home. Is what define this trait in your own words now. Now that we spent about an hour talking about this trait, define this trait. What does it mean to you in your own words? And then take an accounting, an introspection. Where do I stand with this trait right now? In this trait of alacrity, am I on the lazier side? Am I motivated? Do I need some improvement, or am I perfect? Okay, we're not talking about arrogance, so you can write whatever you want. Okay, and then what would you like to accomplish? I'd like to be more motivated. I'd like to get more things done. I would like to procrastinate less. I would like to. And what tools do you currently possess that can immediately be employed to help affect a small measure of change with this trait? And think about it. What is it? Maybe I can motivate myself. Maybe I can give myself a chocolate every time I do something I don't want to do, right? Maybe I can, what is it? Find something. Motivate yourself. And then accept upon yourself how many times a day you're going to think about this or do something that's out of your comfort zone, right? And gain a new appreciation for it. So there's a lot to talk about. I look forward to continue to discussing this trait in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming. and have a wonderful Chag Sameach, a beautiful Simchat Torah. Our sages tell us, we can turn it off. Our sages tell us that today is a day called Hoshana Rabbah. Hoshana Rabbah, very interestingly, has no source in the